All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the final video for our number guessing game tutorial. Hopefully you've had a good time building this with me, and hopefully you're excited for more complex game tutorials in the future. By the time you watch this, I will already have the entire series of the text adventure game uploaded, so you're going to want to watch that one next. That's the next step up from this project. All we're doing in this video is I'm going to show you how to use CSS to create a scale. And we're going to have an arrow on that scale that slides, and it corresponds to the guess that you've made. It's just a nice little touch, makes the game just look a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and implement that right now. And it's actually pretty easy to do. There are quite a few steps, though. Because whenever you're using CSS, sometimes you can make it a little bit complicated. We're going to try to keep it as simple as we possibly can for this video, though. So we need to create a style area because we're going to just do internal styling on this. I kept my HTML, my CSS, and my JavaScript in the same page because there's not much code. So, we can just keep it compact. But with bigger projects, you're going to want to have different files for everything. But for this, we're fine. So what we're going to do is, we need to create a stage for the graphics to live on. So we're going to format that stage with CSS first. We want to set the width of the stage to 300 pixels, and we want to set the height of the stage to 33 pixels, and we want to make the position relative. Okay, so now our stage is set up, but we also want to style our scale and our arrow. Now I know you guys, I will show you what these graphics look like in just a minute, so you can get an idea of exactly what it is we're doing. So width and height are going to be the same for the scale. And position is going to be absolute. Right? Yeah, absolute. And then top is going to be 0 pixels. Left is going to be 0 pixels because we want it to go right up to the top left-hand corner of our stage. And the background image is going to be URL scale.png. Oh, scale.png. So that's basically going to say the file scale.png is going to get pulled in and applied to the background of this scale element. Okay, and now we want to make our arrow, or we want to style our arrow, rather. Okay, and the arrow is going to be width 17 pixels, height 22 pixels, position is going to be absolute, top is going to be 0 pixels, left will be 0 pixels as well, because we're going to have it just start in the extreme right-hand corner or left-hand corner. And the background image is going to be, instead of scale.png, we're going to make it arrow.png. Now, if you're wondering where I got these numbers, if you're wondering where I got the width and height from, it's I got them from the actual images themselves, right? Actually, let's go here. So I got them from the images themselves. I have these two pictures here. This is a scale from 0 to 100, and I have just this little red arrow. And these pictures are going to be placed inside of our web page. This is going to be in the back, and this is going to be on top of this, and this is going to slide along the scale depending on where or depending on the number that your user types. Now, we could have it just automatically jump to where it's supposed to be, but we don't want that. We want it to actually do a nice smooth transition. So we're going to do a little bit of special stuff here. this may not make any sense to you, but this is going to allow us to transition this element with CSS. Ease out 0 seconds. I believe I did that right. Yeah. And then, so WebKit transition is a transition that's applied, that's used by certain browsers such as Chrome or Opera, I believe. MOZ transition is the way that Mozilla Firefox wants it to work. And there are small little differences. And actually, for the case of this, there's actually no difference whatsoever in the syntax itself. It's just that if you're running Firefox and you run this, it's not going to notice. And then we have a catch-all transition, which is, again, the same syntax, but we want to make sure that we cover all of our bases. We want all of our users, no matter what browser they're using, to be able to see this cool, nifty transition. So this is going to apply a transition to this element and make it slide left at half a second and ease out 0 seconds. It's not going to make sense when you think about it, but you'll see what I mean whenever we get into it. All right, so the next thing we need to do is, in our HTML, we need to actually provide a place for our stage to be, right? So we need to build our stage, and we're going to do this using divs. So ID equals, stage. Okay, and inside this div, we're going to have two other divs. We're going to have a div with an ID of scale. And we're going to have a div with an ID of arrow. Okay, and that's really all we need to do. Basically, we just created a spot where our scale and our arrow can live. Now, I put scale first because the browser is going to render scale first and then arrow second. And arrow we want to be on top of scale. So if we did arrow first, then scale, we wouldn't see the arrow, right? So arrow needs to be on top. Okay, now how do we make it actually do stuff? Well, let's see. What we need to do is we need to go into... we need to go down to our render function. How about that? Yeah. Do we have a render function? We don't. So we need to create a render function. Render function is a function that you're going to want to have in most of your games. And what it does is it basically renders the graphics. It puts the graphics where they need to go on your page. But first, actually, before we do that, we need to have a reference to the arrow in our JavaScript, so that our JavaScript, I don't know what I did there, knows what to do. So it knows what we're talking about when we say we want to push stuff to our arrow. So here's our reference to arrow, and now we want to create a function called render. And in that render function, we want to arrow.style.left equals, now we have to do a little bit of math here. Okay, so if we think about this correctly, we're going to start at 0, right? So 0 pixels and 0 the number. Whenever our user enters a number, we want it to move across the screen that many pixels. But if we look at our, actually we don't have to look at, we just look up here. If we look up here, our scale is actually 300 pixels long. So let's say I moved over 50 pixels because he entered 50, I actually wouldn't be in the middle of the scale. I would need to times 50 by 3 to get to the middle. So all we have to do really is in our render function, I'm lost, where'd I go? All right, in our render function, we just arrow.style.left, and we take player's guess, and we times it. Oh, no, that's not times. Times it by 3. And then plus px, because we needed to be able to add the px to the back there. Okay, I'm trying to think, is that all we need to do? Is it really that easy? I don't know. That might actually be it. We might be done. Oh, no, we actually do want to call our render function at some point, because remember, we didn't actually do anything yet. We've just created the function. We haven't actually called it. So we're going to want to call it in our play game function. And we're going to want to call it last. So we're going to call our render function last after everything else is done in our play game. And now we should be done. That should be pretty much it. So let's save it and let's give it a shot, see what happens. All right. Oh, I did not mean to open Steam. Steam's going to pop up here in a second. Okay, so let's refresh our page and see what happens. Hey, cool. So we have a scale and we have a little arrow. Now let's try 89. Oh, that was nice. Did you see that nice transition? Now, if we didn't have that smooth transition, it would have just automatically flew over there. And it's right about where 89 is. Let's try 50. It goes back. Oh, it's too low. Okay, let's try 75. Oh man, that looks pretty awesome. So too high. 61. Too low. 70. Too low. 71. 72. Man, I might actually lose this game. 73. Hey, I won. 73. So that arrow moves quite nicely, and we actually have a graphical element on our number guessing game. That is pretty fancy pants, if I say so myself. I like it. So at this point, you should have a game built. You should have what I have. If you're wondering where to get the scale and the arrow image, I will put them in the links. Well, on this page, you'll be able to download it, and then you'll be able to use them in your own code, and they should work. And so when you're done building it and it works and it looks good, show off to friends and family. I guarantee they won't be nearly as excited as you are about it, but whatever, show them anyway. Who cares? You did something awesome. They didn't. Rub it in their faces. And then get excited for the next project. So I look forward to teaching you guys more advanced concepts, and hopefully you were excited enough about this idea to want to move forward with me. I will see you in the next series, and thank you for watching. Bye.